Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Black Nouveau. I'm Earl Arms. June, of course, is such a celebratory month. You got graduations, weddings, Juneteenth, Pride, and Black music all being celebrated this month. At the end of our program, we'll tell you how you can get one of these Black Nouveau t-shirts at Milwaukee's 53rd Juneteenth celebration. This month, James Causey talks with Chris Allen, the CEO of Diverse and Resilient, Milwaukee's premier health maintenance group for the Black LGBTQ community. But much of what we have for you this edition celebrates music. You'll meet Wisconsin artist Raven, who performs in Milwaukee PBS's Rhythm Cafe.
I believe it's true that I've already seen the end of time.
We'll remember the Scholar Ladies from Hope Christian Academy.
I got gloves on my lips, boots on my hands, holding down the whole scene.
And I'll talk with David Hallman about his concert of Black music he'll be performing on June 14th at Washington Park. But we begin with a profile of Mikhail Johnson, who hopes to make the classical music more open to composers of color.
Being able to be a musician, what that has done for me is it's allowed me to freely express myself creatively in ways that words sometimes have not the opportunity to do. I'm Mikhail Johnson, and I'm a pianist-composer. With piano, or music in general, I started at the age of 4. The story goes that my mom, one Sunday afternoon, was preparing the house for the week, and usually she would turn the TV on and it would be on a classical music station at a particular time of the day. And she usually would be fine with classical music. At this particular Sunday, she just was not here for it. She wanted to hear something else. And so she changed the channel, and she started to hear me cry. And at one point she was like, is this a fluke or something? And then she started testing it, like going back and forth, and she realized, oh, you really like this music. And so she eventually took piano lessons to have me around the instrument. And then I got my first keyboard at 6 years old. I destroyed that one. And then 2 years later, I got another keyboard. And during that time, I was learning music by ear. I would say I didn't realize that the idea of me playing by ear and being able to replicate things and even recreate or create things was a form of composition, this idea of improvisation. I had no idea that was composition in and of itself. I just felt like if it wasn't written down, then it wasn't a creative effort. So I didn't really think of it as composition until way later in high school. I think it's a little uncanny how my Jamaican influence and upbringing really shaped how I would consider my musical sound. And I think it's not different from anything that anybody else in the classical musical realm has done. And I think a lot of these influences are influenced by not only their upbringing, but also the way they speak and the way their rhythmic idiosyncrasies of speech influence also the way the music is written. And I felt that it was just natural to me to do my version of that. It's more significant for me in the sense that we don't get a lot of composers from Jamaica doing original music in that case. Usually it's a reinvention or a arrangement of folk songs that already exist, but in terms of completely new material, that's very few and far between. It's very important that they see themselves represented, and so they'll see that, hey, music is out here for us, by us, and it's not just for a certain group of people. So that's the legacy I want to leave for my Jamaican folks, that there is music for them in the classical realm. It's not just reggae or dancehall, but we are also making strides in classical music as well. For a very long time, I thought that what existed was all white male. The music that we've been told to learn, which would be the standard repertoire, had been people who have been predominantly white and male. And it was not until recent years I realized that there was a ton of people who are African American, there were a ton of composers who are Afro-Caribbean, there are a ton of composers who are women, there are a ton of composers who are indigenous, LGBTQ. I was like, wait, all of this does exist, and none of this gets as much attention as predominantly white male. Success. Being able to do the things that you've always dreamed of. I started wanting to just be solely a concert pianist. That's the only goal I had. Fast forward, opening the avenues to composition, that has springboarded my career much further than my piano career, and that has opened doors, as a result, to my piano career. And even more so heartwarming is to have people from my own country engaging with my music and performing my music in the country. You have your own composer who's from the land, and you're engaging with their music and championing their music, along with other composers who are slowly emerging or are already established. That's beyond all I could ever think or imagine.
The concept of Pride Month started with the Stonewall riots in 1969. These riots began in New York City following a police raid on the Stonewall Inn, a popular gay bar. Marsha P. Johnson, a black drag queen who frequented the bar, is credited with being an outspoken advocate for gay and LGBTQ+ rights. Milwaukee held its Pride celebration over the past weekend. Chris Allen, President and CEO of Diverse and Resilient, joins us to talk about what Pride Month signifies and how to support the LGBTQ+ community as an ally. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So for those who may not know, what is Diverse and Resilient?
Diverse and Resilient, we are a statewide LGBTQ public health organization. We focus on addressing health inequities that are experienced within the LGBTQ+ community, and we predominantly work with communities of color because at the intersections of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity is where we find the largest inequities.
How did you get involved?
I got involved as a youth advisor back in 2002. I had recently experienced periods of homelessness myself after coming out as gay to my parents, and found support with my cousin. My cousin learned about Diverse and Resilient, and I had a friend who was also engaged with Diverse and Resilient, and so I was encouraged to really attend. And through their programming, I found not just a space where me and all that I represent was tolerated, but a space where my identities were affirmed, and I felt like I was appreciated for the experiences that I could bring.
You talk about health disparities. What do the numbers show here in Milwaukee?
So the numbers, I don't have exact numbers, but communities of color, and especially queer communities, when we're looking at rates of HIV infection and prevalence within our communities, there are high rates of HIV prevalence in the Black gay and bisexual community, Black trans women, and also our Latinx community, our gay, bisexual, same-gender loving communities. And so the rates, the prevalence that's within those communities is far greater than our white gay counterparts, and especially our heterosexual counterparts. And so when we see inequities like that, it's not because there is something genetically or biologically different with communities of color, but that prevalence is higher, and therefore one encounter increases the chances of acquiring HIV for someone. And so when we see those higher rates of prevalence, it's because of systemic issues that need to be addressed, either education, awareness, access to resources, access to healthcare, access to education, that needs to be addressed and improved in order to really address those root causes of these disparities.
I know the late Ronnie Grace was a big advocate on knowing your status.
Yes.
Is that push still going on, like for people to know their status and to get on PrEP?
Yes, definitely. So our HIV prevention and care programs take a status neutral approach to the work that we do. And what that means is that whether you're living with HIV or whether you're at risk of acquiring HIV, we have services for you and can engage you in navigating what resources are available. And so for people who are not living with HIV, it is important to understand and know what PrEP and PEP are, so that if you do find yourself in situations where you're at a higher risk of acquiring HIV, you can determine if PrEP is right for you. You can access the resources to get on PrEP. If you've recently had an experience where you feel like you may have been exposed to HIV, you can access PEP. So PEP is post-exposure prophylaxis, where you can take medication to greatly reduce your chances of actually acquiring HIV. And for people who are living with HIV, it's important to understand what U equals U means. Undetectable means untransmittable. And so if you are in care, if you are on medication and you are adhering to your treatment and engaging in care services, then you can get to a point where HIV is undetectable in your system. And research has shown that once you are undetectable, you are not at risk of transmitting HIV to your sexual partners.
I know there's been an uptick in violence against trans women. We've seen a lot of that across the nation, right here in Milwaukee. What do you think is contributing to that, and how is Diverse and Resilient addressing that?
There's a number of factors that are contributing to it. I think one of the most visible factors that's contributing to it is the increased focus on LGBTQ individuals, and specifically the trans community. We're seeing some of our leaders, elected officials, appointed officials, who are villainizing our trans community. They're not seeing our trans community as full, complete individuals, and they're being looked at as if something is wrong with them. And that message is being taken in and internalized by people who lack awareness around what it means to be trans, friends who may feel like they don't know any trans people, and it's spurring that that if they're not like us, they're against us, or they're not up from us kind of attitude, where folks are feeling more vocal and more open to expressing hatred and disdain and dislike. And we're seeing that played out in a number of ways, in increased attacks and increased harassment and discrimination.
We only got about 30 seconds left. What's the biggest way you could become an advocate?
Become an advocate by learning as much as you can about the LGBTQ community. Find ways to support the LGBTQ loved ones that you have in your life, and just be open about your support. It's important to be a visible ally.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Raven, and this is Whatever We Are. Am I remembering the future? I think I'm dreaming in time. I see the past everywhere, and seconds always make me feel like there's something coming after, as I sit and await the final chapter and wonder if I've already seen the end of time. And she's kind, and we are till we're not. All the stars aren't far from whatever we are. Maybe never and forever mean the same thing in the grand scheme. And we are till we're not. All the stars aren't far from whatever we are. I'm hearing noise in these four walls. Is it a ghost or my past self? Don't round it up with eyes wide shut, 'cause seconds always make me feel like I'm healing and becoming, unraveling skies and stars inside me. I'm scared of the end and what's behind it. I guess that I'll dream out loud and tell myself that I don't need a clock to tell the time. It's inside me. You're running races against no one else but you. And I'll say it till I believe it's true, that I've already seen the end of time. And she's kind, and we are till we're not. All the stars aren't far from whatever we are. Maybe never and forever mean the same thing in the grand scheme. And we are till we're not. All the stars aren't far from whatever we are.
And for our last music video, we went to the Black Nouveau Vault for this classic by students at Hope Christian Schools in 2009.
Now we're gonna learn what it really
Our final guest this month is no stranger to Black Nouveau. Last year, his Black String Triage Ensemble was the focus of Marquise Mays' Black String documentary that was available throughout the PBS system, airing here on Black Nouveau.
The Black String Triage Ensemble is a group of Black and Latinx musicians, violin, viola, cello, upright bass, that play at the scene in the immediate aftermath of tragic events. We in Milwaukee have chosen to prioritize shootings, reckless driving occurrences, and drug overdoses.
David Hallman joins us now as the executive director of the Black Diaspora Symphony Orchestra, which will be in concert on June 14th performing Cries from Our Soul. David, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, first off, talk about Cries from Our Soul. What should we expect from that performance?
Cries from Our Soil is a brand new world premiere piece written specifically for this occasion. It is written in tribute to Jeffrey Dahmer's victims, their families, Sade Robinson, and others that have been lynched. The composer of it is Autumn Maria Reed. The poet supplying the text is Britt Nicole. Soloist, Michaela Usher, and visual artist Brooks and Lloyd Dixon, chorus director Lee Stovall. So it's a lot of parts together. It's designed to be, it's a song basically sung by orchestra. They're short work, not long. And it focuses not so much on the grief part, but on the remembrance and honor and humanity of lives lost with an eye towards hope, and that we have an obligation to come together to make that real.
So I've heard of a few of the pieces, of course, saw it at the film festival, but I'm thinking, what's the motivation behind focusing on the Jeffrey Dahmer victims, and just why go there as far as, something, that is so traumatic for a lot of people still here in Milwaukee?
So I realize there are people that say, why such a horrible topic for Juneteenth? I think that's a valid question. But if we look at the history very closely, what we see is that once the Emancipation Proclamation came out and word spread through the land whenever your state wanted to act right, that lynching had a very massive uptick in this country. And so as we celebrate now what I believe will be the second official Juneteenth in this country, as others bat around and kick around the phrase Civil War, we as Black Americans in particular have to keep in mind that our freedom comes with a cost. It isn't just Crispus Attucks in terms of the American Revolution. It continues. It's lynching. It's the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Angela Yvonne Davis makes a wonderful point about racism. She says racism changes. It transmutes itself, right? So when we look at, God forbid saying his name, Dahmer, Maxwell Anderson, and their actions, it isn't necessarily the same as what we see with Emmett Till, but historically, they are right in line in terms of that pattern. There are similarities, there are echoes, and so the purpose of this is not to focus on the assailants. The purpose of this is to uplift the victims. So other than the mention of those two names that I just said before, that will be all.
All right, now plenty more pieces to talk about. 7 Last Words of the Unarmed by Joel Thompson. Talk about that and what that piece means.
Joel Thompson is an absolute genius, in my opinion. His work, written in 2015, 7 Last Words of the Unarmed, is the last words of 7 Black men before they were shot by police. Okay. Why include this in the program? Well, if you look at the history of lynching, law enforcement plays a role, sometimes overtly, and sometimes very passively by not stopping it from happening. There are those that would argue perhaps that in the modern era, as we understand lynching today, that what we have seen with police violence would fall in line with that. So in that right, it makes sense to include that on the program. I'm impressed by how Mr. Thompson thinks about and uses the idea of pulse in terms of the music, in terms of the loss of life of a person as it is occurring. There's one particular movement that is very dreamlike, and the words are, "Mom, I'm going to college." And you are forced to confront the fact that this is a human being that is someone's hope.
Epitaph of a Man Who Dreamed. It's the next one we're going to talk about. That there, an ode to Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yes, Adolphus Hailstork's depiction of people coming to the grave of the civil rights leader, grieving and walking away, realizing that they have an obligation to carry the torch.
And then Symphony Number 4, William Grant Still. Talk about that.
William Grant Still Symphony Number 4 is a symphony in name only. 4 movements, and you get little bits of gospel, blues, jazz, but at the very end of it, his closing statement, it is strictly soul music, and he actually calls the theme from that the spirit of generosity of the American people.
So all these pieces, what do you hope people get from this experience as a whole?
We need something, I think, in this particular moment that acknowledges the history, that uplifts our humanity, and in America's most segregated city, confronts racism, but also brings us together. And what better way to do that than the unexpected space of classical music?
And when and where can we see and experience this?
Friday, June 14th at the Washington Park Bandshell at 7:00 p.m. Concert will last approximately an hour and 45 minutes. No ticket, it's free, family friendly.
David, thank you so much for joining us. Always welcome here.
Thank you.
In closing tonight, we note the passing of longtime WTMJ anchor and reporter Bill Taylor. He worked for Channel 4 for almost 3 decades and created the long-running Positively Milwaukee series. He was inducted into the Silver Circle for his years of service by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Chicago Midwest chapter, and was also inducted into the Milwaukee Press Club's Hall of Fame in 2001. He passed away at the age of 79. Northcott Neighborhood House will host its 53rd Juneteenth celebration this coming Wednesday. And Milwaukee PBS and the Black Nouveau team will be there covering the event. Join us at the corner of MLK and Burleigh between 1 and 2 p.m. to tell us why Juneteenth is important to you. And if we use your interview on air that evening, you'll get a Black Nouveau t-shirt. Join us at 9 p.m. that evening for a special edition of Black Nouveau as we recap the 53rd Milwaukee Juneteenth celebration. And as always, be sure to check us out on social media. For the Black Nouveau team, I'm Earl Arms. We'll see you at Juneteenth.